Okay, I get to go ahead and start. Yes, absolutely. Sorry for the tech, um, etc. at the beginning. First of all, thank you so much for tuning into this talk. I'm very excited to share my experiences with you. A warm welcome from Berlin. I'm basically Skyping you or talking to you from the VW headquarter of the new car software organization, where I will be the incoming head of AI. And we do lots of fun stuff here at the car software organization. What we want to do is we want to centralize the software development and one of the largest automotive manufacturers in the world for VW Group. And if you have any more questions about that, always feel free to ping me, Slack me on, send me a message on Wova or somewhere else. So that's about me. My name is Zawadzki. Why am I here today? I'm here to tell you a little bit about machine learning ops and what I have learned in the past a few years of evaluating, ideating, and scoping machine learning projects. Now, I'm really hoping that what I'm going to tell you today, the practical tips that I use every day, will benefit you also in your profession and in your career. Before we get started, I want to share a little story with you. I want to share with you the story of Frederick Taylor. So Frederick, he was a Quaker son. He was born in 1850 to a powerful family. Frederick grew up working in a steel mill. And back then, 100, 150 years ago, crafting steel was more of an artisan's work, right? So you never knew what type of quality of steel you would get out of a steel block by the end of the day. It very much depended on the steel workers' emotions, personal preferences, and working with the steel. And what Frederick Taylor set out to do, he set out to analyze exactly each movement that each worker did and improve the process of creating steel. And by the World Tech Show in Paris, a World Steel Show in Paris in 1910, I believe, he showed that he can, from the same steel block, which you used before to create 3 meters of steel, you could now create 9 meters of steel. So from the same input, you can 3 times multiply the output that's coming out of it afterwards. And that was absolutely mind blowing. And how he did that? He did that by standardizing the work that was being done. How is it relevant to us? Now, I know data science work is also an artisan work, and I would never like to take the creativity out of the artisan work in data science and in form of understanding the data, playing with the data, feeling it. But I believe a few guardrails can be important for the future to make sure that we really embrace the future of AI implementation, that we make sure that more AI projects are successfully completed. That is a little starter. Now, if we continue, why is the topic of artificial intelligence or data science important at all? What I want to share with you now is how one of the most important investors in the world, the SoftBank Investment Fund, is thinking about AI. Now, I do know that SoftBank has claimed losses of $22 billion based on their $100 billion endowment fund, but put that aside. They have a framework of thinking about the power of data and AI in the future, which I'd like to share with you. So SoftBank generally states that AI is ready to transform every industry, and this is a sentiment I very much agree with. They look back 20 years in the past, and they basically say, okay, how has the internet bubble developed, right? So the internet bubble, private internet-based companies, they enjoyed up to 22x multiple around the century, around the turn of the century. And then the internet bubble burst and the valuations of those private internet-based companies decreased to only a 12x. But what was the underlying factor of this growth for internet-based companies? It was the amount of internet traffic, because obviously the more people use the internet, the more potential is there that you can actually monetize how people use the internet and what information they gain from it. And where are we today? I do not need to tell you that the most valuable companies in the world are digital, maybe not internet-based, but at least digital companies. Amazon, Google, Facebook, these are all companies that have benefited massively from this exponential growth in the underlying driver of internet-based company valuations. How is that relevant to data and AI? I believe, or SoftBank believes, and I very much agree with it, that we might be at an inflection point for AI startups. So AI startups are where internet-based companies have been 20 years ago. So they enjoy a 17x multiple for private AI companies. There might be a downturn in the future. Who knows? But what's the underlying driver of AI-based companies? The underlying driver is the amount of stored digital data. And all projections also believe that the amount of data that will be created in the future, based on IoT devices, based on a few other things, that the amount of data available will grow exponentially in the future, and thus will the potential to create value from this data. Okay, I think this is a very valuable framework, a very useful way of thinking about data and AI, and why it's so important in the future, and why we should think about it. Could you remind us how to enlarge the... I'm just checking right now if everything is fine. There we go. Looks good. Okay, so how does that help us now? We've been here. If you look at a few surveys that have been conducted in the past, you see that the amount of investments into AI has also grown rapidly since 2010. In 2019, based on a Stanford study, private and corporate investments into AI companies and AI initiatives has reached almost $80 billion. Okay, you always have to think like where the money goes. You should follow the money flow. All right, so that's where a lot of money goes. That's where a lot of impact and a lot of potential will also be created in the future. And to support this argument, there was another PwC survey in 2019, which showed that almost 80% of Fortune 500 CEOs, that 80% of those CEOs are planning to start AI initiatives. And only 23% said that they have no plans of starting AI initiatives. Now, what's the scary part? And why are we talking about this today? I brought this Frederick Taylor story up in the beginning to show you, to give you a metaphor of what the Project Management Institute has done and how traditional project management has evolved over the past 50 and 70 years. So the Project Management Institute is the world's foremost institute, which basically tells you how to structure your traditional project with the goal of standardizing how you create those projects to decrease project failure. And they have very much succeeded with that. So almost 80% of traditional projects, based on a PMI study from 2020, succeeded, while only 11 to 14% failed. Where are we with data science projects? There are a lot of data science projects fail. They fail for various reasons. But if you believe an IDC study from 2019, you see that almost 50%, so every other AI project fails. And now, if you compare that to traditional project failure, you see that the AI project failure is just way too high. And we as a community need to work together to decrease the chance that our projects actually fail. How we'll do that, I'll show you in a little bit. Now, what you see on this slide is on the left side, the typical machine learning and data science workflow based on the Uber data science workflow. What you do at first, you always define the business need first, always the first step. Second one, you prototype a solution. As a third step, you productionize the model. And in the fourth step, you measure how your model basically performs. Okay, so if you think of it as a value stream, first define the project, you prototype the model, you productionize the model, and then you measure results. This project now, the remaining 15 minutes, I believe that I have here, I will focus on the define project step. Because if you do not define the project correctly at the beginning, you can perform excellently in all these steps afterwards. But if you don't define the project properly in the beginning, there's almost no chance for success. Next step, how to think about AI projects. So What is really important, what has been preached by Andrew Ng and other basically AI luminaries, is that there is something like an AI maturity level. And this is very important because for you in your position at your company or in your project, you also need to understand where on this AI maturity journey you are. On the left side, you see rough estimates on how much value your AI project brings. And on the bottom, you see basically 3 AI maturity levels. So at first, you're a beginner, your machine learning based projects will not create a lot of benefit. As a professional, you create slightly more benefits. But once you're AI first and you focus like a large chunk of your operations on AI enabling products and on AI based products, the value that can be created from that is tremendous. And now why is that the case? Because you have something that's called the virtuous cycle of AI, which we do not have in traditional software projects. In a traditional software project, you program a software once and then you maintain it, you change it, you add some features. But AI-based projects, you have a good product, you get more users, you get more data, and then you use this data to create an even better product. And once you've completed this virtuous cycle of AI, at least once or twice or 3 times, the amount of benefit that you can get from that is just outstanding. Now, this is one of the first tools I want to teach you to a certain degree, or I want to explain to you. What you see here is a classical impact risk matrix, and I want to show you where you should focus on with your AI project initiatives. So you have low risk and high risk projects, low impact and high impact projects. So something with a low risk, a project with a low risk and also low impact, I would call those solid start projects. Projects which are low in risk and high in impact are holy grail projects. Everybody wants those. Projects which are high in risk but also high in impact, those are calculated bets. Those are innovative solutions which not a lot of people have tried before, but if they work out, you really hit the ball out of the ballpark. And projects which are basically high risk and low impact, but you should never do those. Like the chance to fail is just way too high. And even if you succeed, there's almost no impact. So stay away from these projects. How is that connected to the AI maturity index that I showed you before? Well, what you basically want to do at first, you always want to start with a low risk, low impact project. This is what Andrew Ng has done with his work at Google and Google Brain. He started with a small proof of concept, then he went on to work on a slightly more impactful project. And then at the end, he worked heavily on advertisement and business related problems, which really made Google a lot of money. So as a beginner, you should always strive for those solid start projects. I'll show you how to evaluate and scope projects in a minute, but you start with the solid start projects. Then eventually you try to move on to holy grail projects because you need to create as much impact as quickly as possible. And once you have done those, you will have to find a split between the holy grail and the calculated bet projects. This is kind of similar to the McKinsey 3 horizon investment strategy, where you focus a certain amount of your money and income or investment on really important basic foundational stuff. Then the next level, you focus on more advanced and more midterm goals. And at the end, you focus on really long-term shots, moonshots, to make sure that you stay relevant in the future. Okay, so this was just to show you how you should generally think. Like, always ask yourself, where am I on the AI maturity index? And what type of projects should I be looking forward? Now, how do you even come up with AI projects that you want to implement? What you see here is basically one diamond of the double diamond triangle. Very easily. At first, you want to discover and generate as many AI projects ideas as possible. And afterwards, you want to evaluate and scope those AI ideas. How do you do that? Discovering AI ideas is tricky to a certain degree. A tool that I like to use is something called AI the Game, which has been invented by our friends in the Pocket. It's a Belgium-based boutique AI consultancy. And what you have there is you have cards, certain cards, and there are roles and tasks and opportunities on those cards. And what you do is everybody gets a few cards, and then you talk to someone. And on one hand, you imagine you're a CTO of your own company where you're currently doing an ideation session, and the other person has an idea what they want to do with AI, and now they talk to each other and think if they can come up with a crazy idea. This game really helps you to get a wide-ranging spread of ideas. It also helps you to have people on board who are not too familiar with AI, because those cards kind of tell you, what you could do with AI and what you could do with machine learning. So this is a good way to just generate lots of ideas. Once you're more advanced, you can even conduct design sprints or enter the design thinking process for coming up with AI project ideas. But I would start with this AI the game project once you're a beginner for AI projects. And once you're a professional AI first, I would suggest to go into a more structured way of generating AI project ideas. What has been the best way for me to find holy grail AI projects was to go to business stakeholders and to product owners from certain products and to ask them one simple question. And the question was always, what is your biggest problem? What is your main problem? And now they tell you their problem, you try to understand it. If you can solve it with machine learning, that's a problem you want to solve, and that's very likely going to be a holy grail project, holy grail project idea. Because if you can solve somebody's greatest problem with AI, the chances are very high that this is also going to be very impactful. Okay, now we are at this double diamond, and now we want to evaluate those 30 project ideas. And this is the tool I would really this is the main tool I would like to bring closer to you, because this is the tool I always use when anybody has an AI project idea and whenever I come up with an AI project idea, because it helps you answer the most pressing questions about every AI project. It's based on the business model canvas, and what it does, it gives you on one slide an overview of the most important factors of your project. Let's talk about it. At the middle, you see what's the value proposition. How do you actually create value with this AI project canvas? On the left side, you see what are kind of the input or the technical variables that you need to create this value proposition. Data should be one of the largest blocks. If you have no data, chances is that it's going to be tough to create this AI project. If you don't know how to acquire it, it will be even tougher. What are the skills that you need? Do you need reinforcement learners? Do you need data scientists, machine learning engineers, data engineers? Who do you need to make this project come true? Super important and super tough to say. This is the one that I think has had the biggest impact on our projects, is what's the key metric that we're optimizing for. If you know that beforehand, if that's a 99% accuracy on traffic light detection, or I don't know, whatever map or mean squared error output key metric you have. If you can define that clearly, it's so much easier for the data scientists to optimize for it. Next, how do you bring that value to your customer stakeholders? The customers are, first of all, who are your customers? Define your customers, integration. How do you, once you have created this AI module, how do you integrate it into the existing system to create value for your customers? Who are the stakeholders? Who are people that you need to be in constant contact with to make sure that your project is going to be successful? Is it the legal department? Is it the product, the business development department? Who will it be? Costs. How expensive will it be to make this project a reality? And revenue, how do you measure to create an impact with that? Now, you do not need to have perfect answers to every square here, but the more you can answer, the better. Here you can see again those blocks that work together and how it all flows together, how they all impact each other. Let me check real quick if there are anything that I need to take care of. Slides. Double click on slides. Oh, too long. Sorry. Shoot. Is that better now? Yeah, too bad I can't hear you what you guys are saying. Anyways, I wanted to show you one more example of an AI project canvas. So what I always like to do when I give presentations, I would love to have live feedback on how the audience is behaving. This is especially important now when we give kind of virtual conferences, but even if you give a real conference, I would love to give real life data or data afterwards on audience distribution. So what's the value proposition? To monitor and measure audience engagement, what I want to do is to use a camera to survey who's listening to this talk, detect their emotions, gather some demographic data, and can give afterwards a report to the presenter of how many people actually listened to the presentation, how many people were distracted on their phones, etc., etc. What do we need? We need a labeled data set. We need to check if there are models available for emotion recognition. We might need to collect and label more data. This is something that we do not know yet. Skills are needed: data science, data engineering, and maybe some cloud engineering, but that falls under data engineering. Output, hard to determine. I have not spoken to enough customers yet to know what's the level of accuracy that they want to actually pay for this. Customers, who would be the customers? Conference organizers, so people like David or Tina, they would benefit from this because they could see, what's this speaker's history of engaging with the audience. And public speakers, maybe I myself would pay for this one because I just now have more data about how to improve my presentation. How would we integrate it? It can be inferred in the cloud. The data just needs to be stored in the cloud somewhere, and then the report can be created. And then the legal departments and the organizers are obviously key stakeholders. Well, the costs, you need to train the model, so you'll have some cloud consumption costs. And I said that I need a data scientist and a data engineer for 3 months to come up with an MVP. Yeah, and how could we make money? We could create an SaaS business model, charge, I don't know, 10 euros per month, and then everybody is happy. So this is an example of using the AI project canvas. And what I believe is on this AI project canvas, you see kind of the most important questions answered for a potential project. Now, you've created lots of AI project canvases for the most promising ideas. How can you actually define which project is more impactful than the other one? Well, in product management, there's something called the RISE score. And this RISE metric can also be used to score different AI-based projects. What does the RISE score mean? It's basically focused on reach, impact, confidence, and effort. Reach, how many customers will actually benefit from the solution. Impact, how much does this feature benefit us towards our current goals? And here you see that it's not just about creating money, but whatever my goals are. So increase retention by 10% and improve click-through rate by 2%. These are goals that we might have, and then we can estimate how much this product will help us skew our current metric towards these goals. Confidence, how sure are you that you could actually deliver the project? Hard to say with AI projects. This is also something that I do not have a clear answer yet. You never know beforehand if an AI project is going to succeed or not. And effort, how much time does it actually take? How expensive is it to make this work? What I said here, how many customers will benefit from the solution? Let's say 250 people will eventually listen to, let's say, a talk for a single talk. What's the impact? For me personally, I want to become a better public speaker. So I think this score of 2 would help me as a customer a lot, and the company, it will also help the company a lot in their goal of making the customer happy. How sure am I that I can deliver the project? Not too sure, to be honest. I haven't done enough research to see what data sets and what models are available. And 480 hours, you basically get that when you have 3 people. So me, a data scientist, a data engineer, working for 3 months, for a quarter. At the end, you get a RISE score of 0.52. And then you can compare this RISE score to the other AI project ideas that you might have had. Last slide. Okay. What you guys should remember from this presentation is that always start with your AI maturity level. Where are you? Are you a beginner, professional, or an AI first company? Depending on that, you need to use different methods. Then what can help you to generate AI project ideas are tools like the AI the game, design thinking, or simply asking, what's your biggest problem? And then the main tool I would like to suggest you is to use the AI project canvas to clearly structure your AI project, to share it with other people and to communicate it to others. And then based on this AI project canvas or the RISE score to evaluate how your project was actually conducted. Thank you, everyone. I raced through this presentation. I'll be happy if you would reach out to me. You can always find me on LinkedIn, Medium, or Twitter. My name is Jan Zawadzki. Like I said, currently building up the AI hub at the Car Software Organization for VW. And I think now we'll take some more questions, right? Should I just go through the questions that I see here? Slides, yes, I can share the slides for sure. Thank you, Lou. That was nice. Conrad asked, what is the biggest challenge dealing with IoT data? Is it integrating with the different systems or modeling the data? I'm not sure. So I'm not sure how much that actually fits into this presentation. But yes, what I usually hear from people working with IoT data is that the machines are just too old and that it's really hard to get the data out of the machines and it's really hard to understand the protocol. So really the nitty gritty bits and bytes understanding of the protocols. But yeah. Chip. Thanks for sharing the article. Thank you, David. Could you advise some guidelines to estimate impact risk level of the project? Yes. There's also, I also wrote an article about that. If you follow me on Medium, you would find something called the risk impact matrix for AI projects. What you see basically there is the more fields of the AI project canvas are filled out, right? If you have 9 out of 9, then the risks is very low. Then you're either a solid start or a holy grail project. If you have only, let's say, 4, 5, or 6 fields confidently, if you have answers for 4, 5, or 6 questions on the AI project canvas, the project risk failure is higher. So you move more to the right side on the risk schedule. And there was also another method for evaluating impact, but I would have to read up on that one again myself. Thank you, great question. Importance of good data, always correct. Yes, I think these are the questions that were there. Any new ones came in? How do you scale an AI project once the POC has been successful? Given the fact that your end users are not ML specialists, how do you manage training and switching costs? Oof, it's a tough one. How do you scale an AI project once the project has been successful? Okay. Well, I actually do not like the term of proof of concepts. And this again comes back to the AI project canvas, because if you can clearly define beforehand how you're going to integrate the module into the existing system, how you can create a product out of it for the end customer, then you do not have a POC. Then you have the first MVP product, and then it should be easier to scale it. Maybe there are some technical limitations with regards to data input or output, depending on your special situation. But in generally, we are not in this phase anymore where we should just try thousands of POCs. We should really start to build products, AI-based products right away. Hope this helped. How will I integrate this practice in academic life? Well, if you have, if you're teaching an entrepreneurship class and you want to teach your entrepreneurship students on AI, you should ask them, if you want to create an AI project, fill out this AI project canvas. Or if you're writing a PhD course, you can still use the AI project canvas to figure out the rough estimates and the rough like fences and guardrails of your PhD thesis to actually make it work, right? It helps you to communicate what you're trying to do in a very simple manner. Do you have advice for ML engineering on how to prioritize technical work to reduce the risk for ML engineering? RISE scores can be impacted by investing in engineering. Yes, yes, yes. So the better the automation is, the better the engineering is, the quicker you can actually develop your machine learning products. I personally believe in something called automation. I mean, you guys probably know about it, but I kind of believe in automation from the start. So do not just build something and then afterwards try to automate it. But if you think about automating stuff, especially in the area of data science, where so many data pipelines and so many deployment modules can be automated, if you think of this stuff from the very beginning, you will always save your time. You will always save yourself a lot of time afterwards, and you can very likely reuse parts of the pipeline or of the deployment process. And prioritize technical work to reduce risk for ML engineering. No, I'm not sure. Another question from Shahid. How can we evaluate the level of AI maturity of a company? Some metrics? No, I unfortunately do not have metrics. The easiest metric that you could use is how many AI projects have been completed successfully. Okay, so has there been an AI proof of concept or an AI project that has actually made it into production? If you have already created one, you are more advanced than a beginner and you're sliding towards professional. If you've created a few, you are professional. If you had multiple departments successfully deploying multiple AI-based projects, then you're an AI-first company. The only metric I can think of is actually how many AI-based projects have been deployed in real life. Sabyasachi, David, let me know once my Q&A session is over, but I'm really happy that you guys have so many questions. I would like to know how you incentivize, fertilize cross-functional teams in large, mid-sized enterprise to build an end-to-end product, minimizing silos handovers. Yeah, so what I like to do is when you actually ideate AI projects, I like to bring in people from all different departments. I like to bring in people from the business development department, product owners, UX researchers, AI experts, and whatever functionality you might have, legal or somebody else. And those people from different departments brainstorming together, playing AI the game, or going through a structured design thinking process, that already helps a lot to build the foundation for a cross-functional team afterwards. And then after that, it's really like the organization has to enable you to form cross-functional teams. And if your organization doesn't allow you to do that, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough. Project management for sure is a step towards maturity. Can you see other elements of organizational maturity happening related to AI groups? Yes, so absolutely. So I only focused on the first part, which was the understanding the business problem. But there are so many steps and so many tools on the creating a prototype, deploying a model, and monitoring the model. Those are horizontal AI startups and horizontal AI companies. I also will shortly release an article about that. But I believe that the technique, like horizontal AI startups and companies are going to be much more important in the future, because as you see, data growth is exponential. So more data will be available. So more people will try to build AI-based products. And the more of those things that you can automate and improve, the more you can streamline and provide guardrails that those AI-based projects actually work. So so there are definitely tools, and I believe more tools will be developed in the future on a horizontal technical basis to make sure that AI-based projects work. Any recommended resources, books, websites to learn further about AI project management, risk evaluation, etc.? Well, what has been really great was the course from Peter Abil, from Berkeley, I believe. They talk about deploying and productionize machine learning, and they also have, I believe, 2 or 3 videos about just setting up machine learning projects. That was great to get a lot of input in how the OpenAI and UC Berkeley people think about machine learning models. That is a lot of fun. Any other books? Yes, absolutely. A great, great book that has been, a great book that was created by Andrew Ng was the Machine Learning Yearning. And I still look back to it and I still think of it whenever I have a question about an AI-based project. Machine Learning Yearning and the course by Peter Abiel. Do you know any helpful AI maturity frameworks to help understand sequencing needs and building teams, tech, etc.? Yeah, no, I don't know of any, and I do not know how you would approach that, given that the goal is always different for most projects. Sorry, Imtiaz, I can't help you there. With the Canvas solution, what is your impression of success rate of AI projects for different maturity levels of companies? So absolutely. So the success rate definitely starts with the professional and AI first roadmap. So once people are professional, once they have completed more AI projects, the company better knows what data is available, how to work with the data, how to successfully deploy an AI-based project, and then the success rates increases. I do not have any numbers, I'm sorry, but yeah, it definitely goes up. How will your ideal tech stack look like for ML ops? Wow. Again, I mostly focus right now on the define the business part. We're actually scouting ideas and scouting technologies to make it easier for data scientists at the company to develop machine learning based products. We will always use it with a specific use case. So try to, I don't know, create a traffic light recognition algorithm. And for that one, we try to automate it with a horizontal AI tooling company, and then try to scale it to the other ones. But I do not have an optimal tech stack. Just friend of cloud. Let it be Azure or AWS, whatever it is. They help you with a lot of things. Oh, great. Thank you. So many kind words. What's the name of the course by Peter Abiel? Not sure, man. It's something with applied. Maybe I can look it up in a minute and send it around afterwards. But something about deploying or machine learning in real life. Any advice on working with operation teams who do not apprehend why ML model deployments are different than traditional software deployment? Just be nice, smile, listen, nod, and then insist at the end, yes, but we still need this. That was the way that worked for me. How do you address the problem of scaling your data science team in a short time so that disruption is minimal? So we are actually also scaling quite quickly. We want to grow to about 20 people until the end of the year, and from 0. And I do not like pure data science teams. I will always have data scientists as an AI center of excellence or this data science center of excellence, but then the data scientists have to be part of a larger product team and develop a project where machine learning is a part of the solution. And so, yeah, just setting up a good hiring funnel and making sure that people actually, that the right people are hired, this will help you scaling. As a business leader in an organization, up to what level you will have to understand the machine learning models to assess if a problem can be solved through AI. The quote that I love the most here is, computer science is incredibly tricky because explaining to somebody who's not a computer scientist the difference between what's super easy and what's virtually impossible to solve, that's impossible. Like some things for us are really easy to explain, and when you tell us, I don't know, can we create a website, and we're all like, yeah, sure, absolutely, no problem. But then if somebody has an idea, oh, I would like to plug in my phone into my car and then automatically download all the data from the car and understand what's wrong with the car, explaining how that's so much harder than creating a website, it's virtually impossible. So I very much believe in educating also leadership on the topics of AI. Andrew Ng also has a very good course out on that. It's called AI for Everyone. And it's an absolutely non-technical course, but it teaches you the fundamentals of how to think about AI, where I can provide profits and benefits, and where it will not help you. So if business leaders understand that I don't know, AI is good for computer vision and natural language processing, but it still has certain problems with understanding context, it should be much easier to explain to them why certain projects are helpful and why some are not helpful. Good. Maybe last question. I have a few other meetings to go to, but this has been great. I enjoyed it so much. There is an ongoing struggle between traditional project management and agile methods. We're talking about MVPs. This is more into the realm of agile. Agile works better for things that are not very defined. What are your thoughts? Very, very good question. So I believe data scientists and AI-based project teams need to have an agile mindset. And what an agile mindset basically means is we need to find a way to get it done. We do not want to run around for 2 years to gather the requirements, but we want to understand how to get there quickly. And for machine learning projects, it's so hard. And I'm telling you, this is something I've struggled with also in the past, to evaluate beforehand definitely how successful something is going to be or not. For a traditional project, if somebody tells me, can you create a login page? I mean, yes, that has been done a gazillion times before. I can almost guarantee be able to create a login page for you. But if somebody comes to me with a data set I have never seen, maybe with a problem that has been solved, but not on a specific data set, I cannot guarantee you that I can deliver the project with the key metric that you require. And so coming back to Agile, how Andrew Ng and how the team around him works in Silicon Valley is they have daily sprints. They come to, ideally, they come to work in the morning, they talk about, so what should we do today? Then they program the model. Then the model trains during the night. Next morning, they come in, check how the model performed. And then in the next stand-up, they evaluate it. And then they create another course of action of how to move forward. So I've also thought a lot about of how to adjust Scrum for data science projects. I've not found the right solution yet. I'm also not sure if Scrum is the right methodology for data science projects, but just entering the machine learning development cycle as quickly as possible with an agile mindset, that will help. Good, everyone. Thank you so much. I would actually love to go to my other meetings now. Sorry, I can't hear you. I hope this was helpful. Again, feel free to ping me on LinkedIn, Twitter, where else? Medium. Follow me on Medium, and you will find more information about these topics I constantly talk about: data science, business, and then also some cars. And yeah, looking forward for any more questions that might come from you. Take care, everyone. Goodbye from Berlin, and have an inspiring start to the sessions.